going to be the new parliament building? Should this crucial infrastructure, which is going to be part of nation's identity, heritage and symbol of democracy, become a political punching bag? We talk on all these aspects tonight. That's our focus on Epicenter.
प्रधानमंत्री खुद करते हैं, ये राष्ट्रपति करना चाहिए। अरे जिस जगह महत्व देना है, उनकी गरिमा बढ़ाना है, उस जगह तुम उनको देते नहीं।
Well, let me take the question to our guest and our special panel joining us tonight. We have Mr. Guru Prakash Paswan, who's the national spokesperson for the BJP, Advocate Mahima Singh from the Congress Party, Riju Datta, who's the spokesperson of TMC, and Professor Sangeet Ragi, who's a thinker and an author. Good evening to all of you. Thank you for joining us on the broadcast. Mr. Paswan, coming to you first, because I quoted in the beginning what Mallikarjun Kharge said. And I think the new point in this entire attack coming in from the Congress Party is that you don't really give real respect to the leaders coming from underprivileged communities in this country. Respond to that, sir.
Anusha, a very warm good evening to you and all my fellow panelists. And I really find the observation of Mr. Kharge laughable. Now, look at it historically. It was the Congress Party that insulted Baba Saheb Ambedkar. It was the Congress Party that insulted its own Babu Jagjivan Ram. It was the Congress Party that insulted its own President Sitaram Kesri. It was the Congress Chief Minister Kamal Nath who called a Dalit woman, a Dalit MLA, an item girl. Congress Party and its leadership has no authority, has no locus standi when it comes to speaking on the issues of the marginalized. It took us more than 7 decades. It took us more than 75 years after independence to have a woman from the tribal community at the highest constitutional office in the country. What did the Congress Party do then? They opposed the arrival of the first tribal president tooth and nail. And now look at the hypocrisy and the double standard of the Congress Party. The Congress Party is a feudal institution. It is a feudal political party. Every now and then, we have seen the Congress Party has treated the Dalits in a very disrespectful manner. That is the real modus operandi of the Congress Party. Congress Party ensured that Baba Saheb did not reach the parliament in the 1952 parliamentary election. Babu Jagjivan Ram, the tallest Dalit leader after Baba Saheb Ambedkar, he left the Congress Party. So we have a list of leaders from the Dalit and the tribal communities who have faced the ire of Congress Party.
Guru Prakash, you've responded on the caste angle that has been raised by Mr. Mallikarjun Kharge. Let me ask you in another direct question, and this is a question coming in from the Congress Party. I must raise it here on the debate. That why is it that we have the inauguration of the Parliament building and the President of India has not been invited? Respond to that, sir.
No, Anusha, we have to understand. Is there a clarity on that? There is absolutely no clarity on that. The Congress Party is playing politics on that. And I have a list of events. The Congress Party did a similar thing in National War Memorial case. They did a similar thing in when Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose statue was installed in place of King George V. They did a similar thing when Rajpath was named as Kartavya Path. I have hundreds of such examples when the Congress Party has opposed the monument with respect to national respect and national recognition. And the Congress Party has absolutely zero authority when it comes to speaking of the issues of the marginalized. I can give you 10 of other examples. Today, what is happening in Karnataka, there was a Dalit leader, G. Parameshwara. What happened to him? You said we'll make a Dalit chief minister. Time and again you said we'll give voice, we'll give choice to Dalits in the tribal.
To keep it focused, two pertinent points that have been made by BJP. I'm going to take that to Mahima ji as well. She's joining us on the broadcast. Mahima ji, the argument that the BJP is raising is that if you're going to talk about respect to the Dalit community, then there are various questions that the Congress Party also has to answer. I want to ask you that there is no laid down convention as to how a parliament building needs to be inaugurated. This is the first time we are having having an inauguration of this nature in the independent India, of the new parliament building. It is unheard of. It has not happened earlier. The BJP goes on to say that we have had a consensus and understanding, and we have taken the decision that the Prime Minister is going to come forward and inaugurate the building. What's wrong with that?
Good evening, Anusha, and good evening all. सांसें जितनी मौजें उतनी सबकी अपनी अपनी गिनती सदियों का इतिहास समंदर जितना तेरा उतना मेरा. You see this, the Parliament of India is the temple of democracy, and it belongs to all of us. You know, the citizens of India, it is our representatives that sit there and raise our voices over there. And when you talk of it not being inaugurated by the constitutional head of the country, by the first citizen of the country, it speaks for itself. The fact speaks for itself. And you just said, you know, when you asked the BJP spokesperson, you said that we are raising questions on the BJP reducing to tokens the leaders coming from, Dalit backgrounds and tribal backgrounds. Let me say it is not another leader that we are talking about. We are talking about the first citizen of the country, which is our honorable
you opposed
president.
it, madam.
And apart from that, please do not interject.
You
I did not
opposed the
interject.
nomination of Draupadi Murmu ji. The history knows it.
Recently, the BJP spokesperson spoke. I did not interject.
Guru
Please,
Prakash ji,
Anusha.
I have taken your interjection. Let her make her point, and I'll take that interjection to her earlier. Mahima ji, go ahead. Make your point.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank
No,
you.
I just want to
Guru Prakash ji,
remind her
give
that
me
it was
30
her
seconds.
party that
Guru
opposed
Prakash
the
ji, I'll
nomination
come
of
to you.
Draupadi
I'll come
Murmu
to
ji.
you. Just keeping the decency of the debate. Mahima ji, go ahead. Please go ahead.
Said, Anusha, that it was unheard of, not only in India, world over, it is unheard of that a parliament which was in good shape, which stood firmly, was redone world over, I am saying. And you see, our honorable president has rightly said that they have reduced the president's office to tokenism. Because you would remember that even on the foundation laying ceremony of the Central Vista, on which they have spent about 900 crores, which is the stated cost. I'm not even going to the concealed costs, whatever may have gone in there. And this is the money of the people of India, and the money of the people of India was invested in this building when it was built 93 years ago. So let me just say, when it was started, when the foundation was laid, the then president, honorable president, Mr. Ramnath Kovind, was not invited. I mean, can you imagine?
Mahima ji, I want to understand something from you. What is the objection of the Congress party? The objection of the Congress party is to the money that they have spent. The objection of the Congress party is to the entire existence. Let me finish my point, ma'am. I'll give you the opportunity. Is to the existence of this entire project. Because if it comes to the second point, I have ample data in front of me right now to argue that various leaders of the Congress party have spoken in favor about having a new parliament building. We have Mr. Jairam Ramesh on record, who back in 2012 had made this statement that we badly need a new parliament building. This one is simply not functional and is outdated. There are various letters which have been written during the UPA tenure, after the NDA came into power. So for the Congress party to say, look, we never asked for any kind of building of this nature, or this is something which is unheard of, I think there's a bit of deception there, isn't it, Mahima ji?
If you talk of an irony like that, Anusha, I'll have to say that it was the BJP that opposed the GST, opposed the policies like Aadhaar tooth and nail, and today they are the ones.
Mahima ji, with due respect, I expected a better response from you other than political whataboutery.
I'm going to respond.
Yes.
I'm going to respond to your point. I'm going to say, and what I'm saying is that yes, the leaders from the party may have said that, but the party never brought in or initiated a process like that. And what we are saying today, you are asking me, what is it that we are really questioning?
Right.
We are questioning. We did question the relevance when it was initiated. Today, what our leader, what our utmost, leader sitting at the helm, Mr. Kharge, he is questioning the way in which the president's office, the office of the president of India, is being reduced to tokenism, mere tokenism.
Okay.
Because Mr. Ramnath Kovind was not invited to the foundation laying ceremony. Ms. Murmu is not invited to the inauguration. She's not invited to the inauguration.
I take your point. I take your points. I have to bring in Mr. Riju Datta and also Professor Sangeet Ragi into the discussion.
The parliament is conducted when the president summons the members of parliament.
I've taken your point. Guru Prakash ji, while you make a quick response from you, but let me add one question to your response and to the interjection that you made, that if this is the parliament of the country, then it's beyond political parties. The Congress party is saying that if you want to inaugurate a parliament building, have the first citizen of the country inaugurate, so that it's not party specific. Guru Prakash ji.
Anusha ji, for the understanding of the viewers, we have to make this very clear. It is the same Congress party whose leader of the House in the Lok Sabha, Adhir Ranjan, insulted the office of president. Where was your sensitivity back then? Rashtrapatni. It was the same Congress party whose national spokesperson, official national spokesperson Ajay Kumar, Shaitani Manasikta, where was your sensitivity back then? Your another official spokesperson, Udit Raj, about the President of India. Time and again you have insulted. If you had that sensitivity for the tribals, for the marginalized, why did you oppose? Ideally, after 75 years, there should be a national consensus on the first ever tribal lady as the president of the country. But there was no consensus. You opposed. And the history is aware of it. And I can give you 100 of such examples, Anusha ji, where the Congress party has shown the disrespect and has insulted the aspirations of the marginalized and the disadvantaged. This pure rhetorical game of the Congress party is nothing but a game of hypocrisy which is being
I've taken the political... Mahima ji, I'll come back to you. Please, I have to bring in Riju Datta into the discussion. Mahima ji, I'll come back to you. There'll be other points that will be made in the discussion. I'll come back to you.
He can brazenly lie on the national television.
Nobody can brazenly lie on national television. The Congress party will get the adequate time to respond to whatever has been said by the BJP. Mr. Datta, coming to you before I take in the word from Professor Ragi. What is the position of the TMC? The TMC party, the TMC is a political party, has been very calculated on issues like this because this is somewhere seen as a project of national pride, something which is a breakaway from the colonial legacy and a thing of the past. The TMC party and the stand of the Congress, do you support in what Congress is saying?
Let me be very clear. When President Madam Draupadi Murmu, her name was announced right at the end by the BJP in the presidential election, my leader, my supremo Mamata Banerjee said that if BJP would have announced her name at the very onset, we would have supported her. Point number one. Point number two, when she came to Bengal, you saw, and the whole world has seen how the president and the chief minister both shared equal respects. But our questions are three questions. Number one, first question, which definitely is the case, is why the temple of democracy is not being inaugurated with the first citizen of the country. That's a question BJP cannot avoid. Question number one. Question number two, the UK Parliament, the US Parliament, both have been standing till the 1700s. Okay, you wanted a new swanky parliament, whatever. It was in very bad taste because it started during the COVID time when people were gasping for air and dying due to lack of oxygen. But still you've done it. Now the third point that we think that we should raise is that why is it being inaugurated on Savarkar Day? Why not on 15th August, which is the Independence Day? Why not on 14th April, which is the birthday of Dr. Veer Ambedkar, who's the who's the writer of the Constitution, or on 26th November, which is the Constitution Day? Why is this desperate need by the BJP to get it inaugurated by Pradhan Mantri Modi and inaugurated on Savarkar Jayanti so that you absolutely make it a BJP propaganda? Why? It is not BJP's paternal property. It is going to stand for the next 100 years as the temple of democracy for India. So inaugurated by the president and inaugurated on a day.
So Guru Prakash, TMC and the Congress party are on the same page as far as who does the inauguration of the building is concerned, and they're asking these questions. Your response, sir? Guru Prakash.
We have to understand their... No, Anusha ji, we have to understand their fake prem when it comes to the Dalits and the tribals of the society. And my friend from the Trinamool Congress, I just want to simply remind him that in the name of Khela Hobe, a tandav of violence was unleashed on the streets of West Bengal. Who were the victims? The victims were Dalits, the victims were tribals, the victims were the marginalized section. Women were brutally raped, brutally murdered, brutally killed. Where was your conscience back then? My only point is, our only contention is that Dalits, tribals and marginalized, they should not be used for political advantage or political leverage. You should be actually be working for them. And I can give you hundreds of examples. It was the Congress party, the Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi, who opposed the recommendation of Mandal Commission on the floor of the parliament. Where was the conscience then? The country is very well aware. The Dalits, the marginalized, the tribals are very well aware of your manipulative agenda. be it the Congress party, be it the Trinamool Congress, we are all aware of your fake prem for the Dalit and Adivasis of the country, and we are not going to be befuddled by you anymore. That is
Riju Datta, 30 seconds to you. 30 seconds to you, then Professor Ravi. 30 seconds.
And
Yes.
I will give you point by point rebuttal. First of all, my good dear friend Guru talks about post-poll violence. Now let me remind you and all the viewers, the CBI formed a four units consisting of 28 CBI officers for post-poll violence, which recently by a CBI notification, which you can fact check, were all called back because nothing has been found. Point number one. Point number two, there is a Kurmi Andolan.
Nothing has been found.
Bengal and all
Riju
throughout the
Datta ji,
country. Let me
Riju
please
Datta
finish. Please let me finish. There is a Kurmi Andolan who wants ST reservation. The Bengal government has given our letter to the center saying we have nothing against the Kurmi for ST reservation. The central government is not giving them reservation. So this is their love for all the STs. Now the third point. We all know, the country knows how Manipur is burning in an ethnic cleansing. Who is the double Indian Sarkar there? And what is happening to the Nagas and the marginalized and the tribals of Manipur and Nagaland?
Okay.
See, the thing is, let's not make it political. The BJP has never done anything for the tribals and the marginalized and the Dalits. They have suffered under the BJP regime. Just making up a precedent does not abolish you of all your sins that you have unleashed on the Dalits and marginalized.
Well,
but
as a
when it comes
journalist,
to
all
the
I can
parliament,
say is that if
please.
history were to be dug up, a lot of questions can be asked of all political parties as to what they've done for the community. But I want to come back to the moot question about the inauguration of the new parliament building and how the politics around that entire issue is being played out. Professor Sangeet Ragi, coming to you. Should this have been beyond political debate, or was it inevitable what we are witnessing right now?
I think that the Congress party is, the president of the Congress party, whatever has said just for the sake of politics. After all, we have a parliamentary democracy in which the Prime Minister is the head of the government. And it's also a constitutional position. So if the Prime Minister has been invited by the Speaker of the Lok Sabha to inaugurate the building, there is nothing to say that it intends to or it aims at insulting the President of India in no way. The Congress party should not forget that it didn't come out to support Draupadi Murmu as a presidential candidate. As far as rubber stamp is concerned, we know that very well that when Rajiv Gandhi was the Prime Minister and Ghani Jail Singh happened to be the President of India, it is customary on part of the Prime Minister to apprise of about his foreign visit, whatever transacted with the the heads of the government. But Rajiv Gandhi never visited during his tenure after he became the Prime Minister. So a courtesy call. We all know that, how there is a long debate in the parliament on which the what would be the right of the President of India is subsequently happened during the Nehru time itself. And Nehru, if you look at Article 35, in which condition it was signed, and President Rajendra Prasad didn't want to, but Nehru forced it to get it done. So I'm making a limited point that please don't bring in who is rubber stamped and who is not rubber stamped. We know that there is a constitutional provision in this country and we are living in a parliamentary democracy where actually the head of the government is the Prime Minister, and I don't see any harm in. Unfortunately, since the Prime Minister has been, is a very, very popular leader of this country and also belongs to a political party, the opposition always, finds him a soft target to attack on, be it any issue.
Okay.
They want to denigrate the Prime Minister. But
Maimaji, I want to take that. Yes, Professor Ragi, make your point. Yeah.
Now this is a temple of New India, Mahimaji, and where the population, which happened to be in the 1947, is no more the same. We are the largest population of the world. this parliament, and there is a discussion going on, we have to revisit the number of the constituencies, the number of the members of the parliament in time to come, which will be actually the representative voice of our people.
Okay.
So in one constituency, we have 20 lakhs, 25 lakhs, somewhere it is 50 lakhs.
And the
even.
proposed delimitation exercise that might happen in future. Mahimaji, I'm sure you have a lot of points to counter on, but let's begin by what Professor Ragi had said. That if you dig in history and if you try and find the precedents at what time the office of the president was used as a rubber stamp or was politically ignored by the sitting prime minister, then the Congress party has a lot of instance to countenance.
Anusha, let me just say that we cannot pick and choose when we talk about, the constitutional values, the constitutional propriety and the democratic values that we uphold when we are conducting a parliament. I have threefold questions, but before that, I will just take forward a brief point that Professor Ragi just mentioned. He talked about the population of India. And let me just reiterate that the census is overdue. A caste-based census is much needed and it is overdue. Professor Ragi, the Prime Minister and his government doesn't listen to the opposition's much, they don't heed to our request. You might as well do that job, and I know, and then we'll know exactly how should the delimitation be appropriately done. Now, let me come to the threefold question that I have for the BJP and let them answer that. Number one, can the Prime Minister summon the members of Parliament in a democracy like ours? That the BJP should answer, and then they should come to answer the second question, which is that why is the BJP hell-bent on undermining the constitutional propriety which is vested in the office of the President of India by virtue of our democratic values, our constitution, by virtue of our constitution. And the third question that I have, Anusha, today, which is very relevant, is that why is the BJP also hell-bent on undermining the relevance and importance of our founding forefathers and mothers, that are the minds behind the constitution that run our democracy today. This is the temple of parliament. This is the temple of democracy that all of us are going to be governed by, and the constitutional head of this parliament, this temple of democracy, is the president.
As you make your point, can I also ask you candidly a question that comes to my mind as a journalist? You'd make your point. I'm staying with you, ma'am.
I will. Yeah. Please just allow me to complete my point. One last point, because there was a mention of the leaders from the Congress party, one of which had a tongue slip and apologized duly. The other, had proven the point duly that what was presented on TV channels, Dr. Joy Kumar, proved that it was half presented because the full phrase was different. Now the Prime Minister is yet to apologize for the Beti Bachao, Beti Patao tongue slip. And the BJP spokespersons don't cease to bring up these.
Let's stay focused in the spirit of a constructive debate and a dialogue. Mahimaji, I have a question for you. My question is that, and I ask this to you very candidly, doesn't it sound like political frustration what the BJP says? That first you begin by talking about the timing, then you said, look, so much money is being spent, the timing is wrong, why are we having a new parliament building? Then the BJP goes on to say it was your leaders who had spoken for a new parliament building, and now there is political bickering about who inaugurates it. The criticism itself of the Congress party has not been a consistent one. You've shifted paradigms. What does that show?
Well, Anusha, during the peak of COVID, when, as the TMC spokesperson has rightly pointed out, people were gasping for air, there was shortage of oxygen and drugs, we had raised a voice which was unheard of. Of course, when there was a lockdown, thousands of laborers were forced to work at the Central Vista site. We raised all those points, but now that is bygone, and that cannot be revisited and repaired. What can be repaired today is the undermining of the president's office, is something that can be immediately attended to, is the undermining of the forefathers of the constitution.
No, but how are they being undermined? I ask you this question so that I can take it to BJP. How are they being undermined?
The money that has been spent cannot be brought back now. Now they've done what they wanted to. Because, it's, as I said, इतिहास जितना इनका है उतना हमारा भी है, जितना हमारा है उतना इनका भी है, right?
लेकिन महिमा जी, ऐसा तो नहीं हो सकता ना कि पहले कांग्रेस पार्टी के बड़े-बड़े नेता इसके बारे में बात करें और बीजेपी जब इसको लागू करे तो आप बोले कि ये गलत है. मतलब विचारधारा और मतलब तर्क तो एक ही होगा ना.
Let me just say that, when we are governing a country, a lot of remarks are made, a lot of we have a democracy within the party and outside the party. So we have multiple views. Our leaders may have felt, some of our leaders may have felt.
So, Mahima ji, it is fair to say that what they said that time was wrong.
It's just a 93-year-old building which stands very firm. And as I said, this kind of redoing of a parliament, relocating of a parliament is unheard of across the world. This was not required. Congress never initiated a step like this, as a whole while governing the country. Maybe, our leaders remarked and said something like that because they may have felt so. But it was not taken up as a matter of governance.
All right, Guru Prakash ji, make your point. Please go ahead.
All the parties.
All right.
BJP took it up singularly.
Guru Prakash ji, make your point. The question which is being repeatedly asked is that A, the expenditure which the Congress party continues to believe is something which was not required, and B is the manner in which it is being inaugurated. And in fact, the Congress party goes on to say, I'm sure you've heard, Mahima ji, that you're betraying the constitutional mandate and the vision of the forefathers and mothers.
Constitutional propriety was the key word in the observation of my friend from the Congress party. Now let me remind her what constitutional propriety is. There is a news from Karnataka. Government teacher suspended for FB post critical of Siddharamaia's freebies. This is a direct assault of freedom of speech and expression, which is the constitutional cornerstone of constitutional propriety that you are speaking. Point number one. Point number two, you are talking about democracy within your political party. Excuse me, madam. Senior leaders like Mr. Kapil Sibbal, senior leader like Himant Biswa Sharma, senior leader like Ghulam Nabi Azad, they have sufficiently spoken about the democracies within your political party. When your own national president, Mr. Sitaram Kesri, who comes from the OBC community, he was insulted and ousted from the Congress party office. This is your idea of democracy within the Congress party? Point number one. Point number two, constitutional propriety. And it is so pricey of the Congress party, speaking of constitution, the only one occasion the country has seen emergency bypassing the constitution was during the reign of the Congress party, and the Congress party has never apologized for it. Point number three, you are talking about the president and the honorable president. Your sudden love for the honorable president is astounding, is surprising, when your own leader of the house have repeatedly made these remarks. Not on one occasion, not on two occasions, not on three occasions. The point is, the simple fact of the matter is that the Congress party and its established leadership cannot digest the fact. They cannot digest the fact that leaders from the marginalized community, leaders from the OBC community, leaders from tribal communities are occupying the highest constitutional position in the country today. You speak ill of the Honorable Prime Minister who comes from OBC community. You speak ill of the Honorable President who comes from the tribal community. You speak ill of all the representatives who come from the marginalized sections.
Can I have the
now,
Congress response?
Where do you stand? Where do you stand that?
Can I have the Congress response? Please go ahead. Yeah.
Anusha, you hold a debate on parliament, they will go to Karnataka. You hold a debate on Karnataka, they will go to Rajasthan, but they will never
that happens for all political parties. That I can tell you as an anchor. That happens for all political parties, but never mind. Let's come back to the topic. Yeah.
No, I have stuck to the point, but this is a very relevant point. This is the way the BJP digresses debates.
Now, Mr. Raghi, I'll come to you.
He's talking about the love for
this is
the
constitution
president.
propriety. Yeah.
Allow me to respond, please. Allow me to complete my thought, Anusha. They talk of the love for the president. It was the friends of the BJP that time and again insulted Ms. Pratibha Patil when she was the president. Now, when they're talking about the love for the president, the Congress has always had deep love for the constitutional values, for the democratic values. And thirdly, he's talking about the leaders.
What about Adhir Ranjan ji?
Guru Prakash ji, उनको अपनी बात पूरी कर लेने दीजिए. महिमा जी, go ahead. Yeah.
Satyapal Malik is revealing deep, dark secrets of the BJP day in, day out. Today, I came across a video when Mr. Satyapal Malik is telling us that there might be no elections after 2024. And here I'm talking about a former governor of a state where they took the historical...
What sort of observation is this, Anusha? Why are you even allowing this?
Please don't, my friend, don't talk about Ghulam Nabi Azad and his likes. Because you have a Satyapal Malik.
Why are you even allowing this preposterously, madam?
Isn't that also a lot of fear mongering and rumor mongering? I mean, Mr. Satyapal Malik has the right to say what he wants to, but not necessarily. And you spoke of digression. Aren't we digressing from the debate right now?
because he talked about the leaders. He talked about leaders like Ghulam Nabi Azad ji. I had to remind him of Mr. Satyapal Malik. I mean, you don't expect me. I'm rebutting Anusha. I'm not taking the debate myself to another state or another point.
Okay, as I close this debate, Mahima ji, 30 seconds to you. The Congress party opposed the nomination of Draupadi Murmu as the President of India. This is a point repeatedly that the BJP has raised. Response of the Congress party. Why do you have sympathy for them now?
We don't have sympathy. We have devotion for the constitutional value, propriety and democratic values. It's not one person that we have the devotion or dedication for.
Okay.
It's the dignity of the post, which is, the first citizen of India. I have just said, and I will reiterate, that it is not one person that we are talking about. It is the President of India, and once that is undermined, that sets a precedent.
All right, I have to close the debate. Last 30 seconds. Professor Sangeet Ragi, please go ahead.
Anusha, the constitutional propriety demanded that the elected members should have elected their leader as the Chief Minister of Karnataka.
Right.
But it was the High Command who decided who will be the Chief Minister of Karnataka. The constitutional propriety doesn't demand that a Prime Minister is elected without, how Mr. Rajiv Gandhi was elected Prime Minister. Everybody knows the constitutional propriety even then was not followed. The constitutional propriety doesn't demand for a high command culture at all, but this was what Congress party wanted.
Right.
The appointment of the governors in the state, you look at the Sarkaria Commission, in what context Sarkaria Commission was constitution and what was the report of the Sarkaria Commission, it was not followed by Congress
Professor
party
Ragi,
at all.
all I can say as a student of constitution is that it is deeply saddening when you study Indian history, and it's riddled with various instances where political parties have defeated what we call constitutional propriety. Well, the inauguration is set to happen. It will happen on the 28th of May, and the politics around it continues. I thank all of my panelists for joining us on the broadcast as we debated this on News Epicenter tonight. Now on to another big story of the day. We shift our attention to a tragedy that unfolded in Bengaluru, a one that could have been averted. A 22-year-old woman died after her car was trapped in a flooded underpass. The driver of the rental vehicle has been arrested by the police for negligent driving. The family was travelling from Hyderabad to Bengaluru, and according to eyewitnesses at the scene, the driver of the car made an ill-advised attempt to navigate through the water, resulting in vehicle becoming partially submerged in the middle of the Kia Circle underpass. 5 people were saved, but unfortunately, the 22-year-old woman could not be saved. Chief Minister Siddaramaiah, he visited the hospital, met the family members, announced a compensation. The government has also announced an audit of all the underpasses in the state. As expected, an FIR has also been registered against the BBMP officials as well. But till when will this crisis continue? Till when will the urban death traps continue in the IT capital of the country? And who will gather the political will and courage to fix the problem? Because this has taken place both under the Congress and the BJP regimes earlier as well. Will accountability be finally fixed for the civic apathy? Now, News 18 was there when this tragedy unfolded on Sunday. We spoke to the eyewitnesses and multiple people on the ground. Here is how the horror played out.
ಇನ್ನೊಬ್ರು ಮಹಿಳೆ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ಅವರನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ರೆಸ್ಕ್ಯೂ ಮಾಡುವಂತ ಪರಿಸ್ಥಿತಿ ಬರ್ತಿದೆ. ಈಗ ಅವರನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ಒಂದು ರೆಸ್ಕ್ಯೂ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅವರನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಲ್ಯಾಡರ್ ಮುಖಾಂತರ ಒಂದು ಏಣಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಮೇಲೆ ಕತ್ತಿಸ್ತಾ ಇರೋದು. ಮಕ್ಕಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತ ಕೂಡ ಹೇಳಲಾಗ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು. ಸದ್ಯಕ್ಕೆ ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ಮಕ್ಕಳನ್ನ ಮೇಲಕ್ಕೆ ಕಳಿಸಿ, ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ರೆಸ್ಕ್ಯೂ ಮಾಡಿ ಮೇಲಕ್ಕೆ ಕಳಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತ ಕೂಡ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು. ಇನ್ನು ವಿಚಾರವಾಗಿ ಹೇಳೋದಾದ್ರೆ ಸಿಕ್ಕಾಪಟ್ಟೆ ಒಂದು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ ಇದೆ, ಕಾರ್ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಮಕ್ಕಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಕಾರ್ ಎಲ್ಲಿದೆಯೋ ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. ಆದ್ರೆ కబల్పర్ చూసాక వచ్చిండ్రా? ఏ ఊరు మీది? ఏ ఊరు ఆంధ్రాలో ఏ ఊరు? ವಾಹನ ವస్తుంది ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಮಳೆ ಬರ್ತದೆ ಅಂತ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿದ್ರು ನೀವು ಯಾಕೆ ಬಂದ್ರಿ?
this is that car in which this whole incident took place. After that, this vehicle that got stuck in the waterlogged underpass. 22-year-old girl was sitting in the rear seat, so that's the place where she was exactly sitting. Well, there were also other 5 members in the same car.
We indeed need to fix this crisis, and how will it be fixed? We continue talking about that, but the promises from the netas, the blame game, we've heard all of that in the past. That continues to go on. Listen in to the voices that came through the day.
ಯಾರು ಅಂಡರ್ ಪಾಸ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗಲ್ಲ. ಇವರು ವಿಜಯವಾಡದವರು ಗಾಡಿನ ಬಾಡಿಗೆಗೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ನಗರ ನೋಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಬಂದಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ದೇ ಆರ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ವಿಜಯವಾಡ, ಇನ್ಕ್ಲೂಡಿಂಗ್ ಡ್ರೈವರ್ ಸೇರಿ 7 ಜನ ಇದ್ದರು. ಅವರು ಬ್ಯಾರಿಕೇಡ್ ಹಾಕಿದ್ರು, ಅದು ಮಳೆ ಬಂದು ಬ್ಯಾರಿಕೇಡ್ ಬಿದ್ದೋಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಾರೆ. ಇವನು ಡ್ರೈವರು ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದಾಗಿತ್ತು, ಅಂಡರ್ ಪಾಸ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗದೇ ಇರಬೇಕಾಗಿತ್ತು. ಅಂಡರ್ ಪಾಸ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗಿದ್ದಾನೆ.
There are heavy rains and there will be water clogging under the underpass and all. But I don't remember any death happening. That means there is a mishandling of the whole thing, and the particular drivers have not taken precautions, and it could have been avoided, and timely action by the BBMP could have saved the life. There is some lapses that has to be really looked into.
ಸುಮಾರು 18 ಅಂಡರ್ ಪಾಸ್ ಇಲ್ಲೂ ಇದೆ. ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಿನ ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಕೂಡ ಹುಬ್ಳಿ ಧಾರವಾಡ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಕಡೆ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಅಂಡರ್ ಪಾಸ್ ನಾನು ಗಮನಿಸಿದೆ. ಸೊ ಎಲ್ಲ ಎಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲಿ ಅದು ಬಾಟಲ್ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಒಂದು ರಿಪೋರ್ಟ್ ತರಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ಒಂದೇ ದಿನದಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದು ಬದಲಾವಣೆ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ ಅನ್ನೋದು ನನಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ.
And here's some latest news coming in. The Karnataka government has now issued a circular. This circular has been issued to all the government department heads, and the circular says that all the payments must be withheld for all the construction work with immediate effect that were taken up during the BJP tenure. So all the construction work tenders that were given, or all the payments that were being made, that needs to stop now. This is a big decision coming in after the formation of the new government. Earlier, the Congress party had alleged that there was corruption in various government departments when the BJP was in power. My colleague Ritu with us on the broadcast. Ritu, tell us more about this circular. To what kind of projects does it apply? How many projects would be affected by it? Do we have any kind of number?
Well, you see, now what we are given to understand is that the Karnataka government has, of course, issued now a circular to all the government department heads to withhold the payment. To withhold the payment for all the construction works with an immediate effect. Now, this circular has been issued as per the CM Siddaramaia's instruction. Now, remember the Congress party, when it was in the opposition during the BJP government, it had continuously attacked the BJP over the corruption in the various department. Also, remember there was a strong statement that was oftenly made by D.K. Shivakumar, the KPCC president, who is now presently the deputy CM as well, that at the Vidhan Sauda, if really one touches the walls of the Vidhan Sauda, then it echoes of the corruption. So that's the level of corruption. And when the Congress party is voted back to the power, the party will ensure to give corruption-free government to the people and ensure for the welfare of the Kannadigas here in the state. Right. Now, however, this particular circular does imply with the various departments. You see, the housing department is also included in it. PWD, Panchayat Work Development, Public Work Development department again comes under it. BBMP, again BWS. So all most over the civic bodies all come under the various departments there. So yes, all this implies to various departments as well. Okay. But now needs to be seen what will be the clarification of the Congress party as well to speak about how many departments and what kind of works that the party really had focused on to stop the the flow of the finance and all that.
All right. Thank you, Ritu, for getting us all the details. Let me quickly bring in our guest, Prashant JS, who's the spokesperson from the Karnataka BJP, and Bhavya Narasimhamurthy, the spokesperson of the Karnataka Congress. Both are joining us on the broadcast. Good evening to both of you. Prashant, first, a quick reaction to the news that we've just gathered, that there is a circular that has come in from the Karnataka government. And this is to all the government department, all kind of tenders that were allotted for the construction work. That needs to be stopped. And I believe this is in line with what the Congress party has been accusing the BJP of earlier, the 40% commission Sarkar.
Anusha, I am yet to look into the circular, but going by what you have stated, if the circular states that all the infrastructure projects had to be put on hold, now look at it this way. Now the monsoon is soon approaching. Probably in some parts it's already come in.
Right.
The IMD has predicted that the monsoon is going to hit Karnataka by June 1st or June 4th, as the case may be. And if all the infra projects are being stalled without any probe, only to satisfy the ego of the Congress masters, saying that, look, we have stopped something without anything being on record, this may be wrong. Let them probe anything. Nobody is against any probe. But to say that all the infrastructure works also needs to be stopped may not be right. But in any case, I have not looked into the circular. Once we look into the circular, what details they bring out and what sort of projects they're wanting to stall, only then probably we'll be able to give you a perfect answer for that.
All right.
Be that as it may, this shows the Congress mindset that they're only trying to play politics where there is no political agenda there.
Let me
What
bring
are they
in
trying to do?
Bhavya, and then we'll go back to the Bengaluru story as well, which is the moot point here. A very unfortunate death has happened. But Bhavya, first about this circular, we don't know how many projects are going to be affected with the circular of the government. But the BJP says that you're only doing this to fulfill a political agenda. This is going to affect the growth and development work in cities and in the state of Karnataka.
First of all, the Karnataka people have given us full mandate. Why would we want any more agenda after winning elections with such a big margin? This circular was sent out because the past BJP government has a very big, contractors association. They had said that all the tenders were, rolled out with 40% commission. And not just that, like 5 months ago, around 1,000 crores worth tender was rolled out within a week. And that was a big issue, and Congress party spoke about it. So we want to review all these projects, how they were given out and what is happening here. Because when we see all the infrastructure project that has happened under BJP government, whether it is road work or any building construction, we have seen a lot of things collapsing, the buildings, the bridges and stuff, and the roads with very poor construction materials used. So we want to review all of that.
Bhavya, I believe, and the details of the circular are not available right now, but I do believe there's a need for an audit. And any kind of loose allegations, political allegations that have been made, is that the sole basis of the circular? I leave that to the details as and when they emerge. But going back to the story in Bengaluru, where a 22-year-old woman unfortunately lost her life, and this is not the first incident, unfortunately. Bhavya, now this is a new government. I'm not saying overnight fix the responsibility. But what I'm trying to argue here is that this is not the first time that the Congress party is in power. This is not the first time that somebody has lost their lives in a city like Bengaluru due to a man-made disaster. Does the Congress party have a game plan? Do they have a strategy in place to fix this urban menace in the IT capital of the country?
Definitely. First thing we want to do is conduct elections, BBMP elections at the local level.
How soon can we have elections? Because I was reading some reports and it said that perhaps there could be much more delay that we could see. Is that true?
Much more?
Delay in terms of holding the BBMP elections. They've already been delayed by quite some time.
We have mentioned in our manifesto that decentralization will be our utmost priority when it comes to Bangalore manifesto, and we will roll it out. We will conduct the elections as soon as possible because people on ground need representatives to go to. If there are councillors there, they will look into what problems, the people are facing at the ground level, and they will work it out. That's one thing. And the other thing is, of course, the BBMP, we want to fix responsibility. Whether it is this 22-year-old young woman losing her life, when it was the previous government never did that. In Bengaluru, it's not just through rain, through potholes people have lost lives, and nobody took responsibility of that.
Anusha, may I step in?
I'll come to you, Prashantji. I'll come to you. Let Bhavya finish your point. Bhavya, make your point and then I'll go to the BJP.
Yeah. Last year, 119 people lost lives during monsoon across the state. And we want to make sure, BBMP is on its toe to make sure this incident doesn't happen anymore. And this monsoon, this 22-year-old girl losing her life, this should not repeat, and no more loss of life.
Well, Bhavya, what you pointed out when you began your argument that this is a huge mandate that the Congress party has got, and this is a mandate for good governance. And civic issues, of course, dominated a lot of political discourse in the run-up to elections, especially in the urban areas. Prashant, a quick response from you. Go ahead, please.
You look at it this way. What Congress is trying to politicize the issue. We have to understand that, yes, a young woman aged 22 has lost her life. Probably we don't know whose fault it was. Sidramaya is on record to say that the driver was at fault. He shouldn't have taken the road, and probably the girl had too much of water in her, whatever. I think that's the statement he has made, saying that driver should have been careful. See, we're not getting on to who should have been careful. At the end of the day now, the young woman who had a great career and life ahead of her has lost her life, and we need to probably, our thoughts and prayers must be with the family of the young woman. Be that as it may, Congress is trying to make it sound as if only the potholes and other infrastructure issues have come up only the last 3.5 years. Believe me, in the last 10 years, Congress was in power for 6.5 years. And from 2013 onwards, Karnataka and more so Bangalore has grown by leaps and bounds, and the peripheral areas have also increased. The infrastructure development is happening. We do understand that, yes, these civic amenities have not kept up pace with the growth that Bangalore has undergone. And it is not due to any political party being unwilling, but Congress is equally responsible, if not more. And Congress now cannot shirk its responsibility to say everything has happened only in the last 3.5 years, forgetting that for the previous to that 6.5 years, they were in power. So this is what the Congress is up to. They're trying to politicize the issue. The death of a young woman, they're trying to politicize it instead of now looking for solutions. They've got the mandate. Let them go and fix it. Nobody's stopping them.
Well,
at the same time,
Prashantji, I think with the sort of mandate the people of Karnataka have given, it's absolutely clear that the party in power is responsible to maintain what it is. And I'm not going to go to Bhavya and ask about the fact that, does the Congress party think that BJP is responsible? You are in power, you are responsible. Bhavya, there hasn't been a serious policy thinking as far as civic issues in Bengaluru is concerned. Is there a proper audit which has been done? There are various environmental concerns that have been raised. To believe that the state government being changed and a lot of corruption that happens at the local level is going to disappear overnight, that also I believe is a fallacy that exists. For you to actually have good governance norms on the ground, you need some strong efforts which are taken. And that's why I asked you earlier, do you really have a plan in place?
So in our manifesto, we have mentioned that we will have a planning authority. So far, Bengaluru doesn't have one. We don't have a permanent body, for planning the infrastructural needs of Bengaluru, which is growing, exponentially. So that is one of our main points in the Bengaluru manifesto for this election. So we'll make sure that, whichever government comes, whether in state or the local government, there is one permanent body which will take care and look after, the needs of Bengaluru and brings it to the notice of the government.
Is there a timeline that we can look at? I mean, I appreciate the fact that this is the spirit that you're expressing here. And when BJP was in power and I've held them accountable in equal measure like I'm asking you today, is there a time frame that you have? Can you give commitment to the people of Bengaluru, to the city of Bengaluru, that when the monsoon hits the city in full force, there would be no more deaths? At least no more deaths. I mean, people can have problem, but for people to die in this manner is absolutely inhumane, unacceptable.
Yes. First thing, it's only been 2 days since the Chief Minister took oath, and today was the first day of assembly.
I take that point, yeah.
And the most important thing is we'll make sure we'll take this as a priority and make sure the least we can do is avoid this loss of lives. So BBMP officials will be on their toes to take care of that, to make sure there is no, clogging in the drainage system and all of this, so that there won't be clogging during this monsoon. But otherwise, all our mandate, as I said, today was the first day of assembly, and we will definitely do it at a faster pace, and we will meet every proposal that we have kept in our manifesto within the next 5 years, just like how we did in 2013.
Just to step in there.
I have to.
Of our manifesto, we have achieved what we promised, we have delivered, and we'll do that this time as well.
We'll make sure that we hold the elected government responsible and accountable. Prashantji, a quick response from you. A quick response.
Yes.
Yeah.
See, I surely hope that the Congress keeps up its promises. But at the same time, if you look at the Congress guarantee card and the circulars they have brought out, now DK Shivkumar is on record to say we can't give it to every person. But what was Siddaramaya's statement during election campaign? That 200 units of electricity was free for everybody. In fact, his video was that it is free for him, free for the people who are with him, and for everybody else. Now there's suddenly a star appearing saying conditions apply. And also for other...
Well, sir, those 5 guarantees that the Congress party promised, they'll have to implement that, and people are watching very closely. I'm absolutely short of time. Prashantji and Bhavya, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Thank you for your time. And joining us on this broadcast, we're slipping into a very short break. Up next, the G20 summit that kicks off in Srinagar.
Leader, he is a global leader, and his coming to Papua New Guinea is very important for Papua New Guinea also.
We are blessed
because we have a lot of Khanij Padarth here, and so we can avail those facilities like gold, petrol, gas, and India can take the capacity building.
मोदी जी जब आए हैं तो यहाँ के लोग में भी इतनी उत्साह हो गई है कि प्राइम मिनिस्टर जैसे आपने देखा उनका पैर भी छुए. ये जो इज्जत यहाँ पे है वो इंडिया के लिए है, मोदी जी के कारण है. उन्होंने जिस तरह हमको दिया है, ये सम्मान जो हमको मिल रहा है मोदी जी के कारण मिल रहा है.
After engagements in Papua New Guinea, Prime Minister Modi will leave for Australia. CNN News 18's Anand Narasimhan spoke to Australian MP Julian Leeser about PM Modi's upcoming visit. Listen in.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi's arrival this time in Sydney just is around the cusp of him completing 9 years in government. Why is it significant for you from an Australian perspective?
Well, it's always very exciting to have Prime Minister Modi here in Australia. As a private citizen, even before I was a Member of Parliament, I went to see him when he came here last time, and it's hard to imagine any other political leader being able to fill a stadium of expats and people who are interested in the relationship, but that's Prime Minister Modi. And I think in that time since his last major visit here to Australia, there has been such a growth in the relationship. I mean, now India is so close to us, whether it's through the Quad, whether it's the free trade deal that we've done, whether it's the comprehensive strategic partnership, whether it's the defence and security relationship. As I've said many times, the Australia-India relationship is an unalloyed good. Having Prime Minister Modi here is a great celebration of that relationship.
CNN News 18's Anand Narasimhan also spoke to Australian MP Andrew Charlton about PM Modi's visit to Australia. Listen in.
What are the expectations?
Well, it's a very exciting visit for Australia. This is the second time that Prime Minister Modi has been to Australia. And this year, Prime Minister Albanese will travel to India twice during the course of the year. And that speaks to the great state of Australia-India relations and the closeness between our two countries.
There's a big interaction with the Indian diaspora that's being planned at the Kudos Bank Arena. Are you going to be a part of it?
I am, yes. I know the Indian diaspora in Australia is very excited about the visit of the Prime Minister. Australia has a wonderful Indian diaspora of nearly 1 million people in Australia have Indian heritage. That means 1 in every 25 Australians has some Indian heritage, which is an incredible national asset for Australia. And we're very excited about the Prime Minister coming and saying hello to quite a few thousand of them.
So how many people have called you who have never reached out to you in the last few days saying, Andrew, can you find me a seat?
Everybody wants tickets to the Modi event. And I say, look, I can get you tickets to Taylor Swift. I can get you tickets to Harry Styles, but I cannot get you tickets to Narendra Modi. Well, we have a wonderful Indian diaspora in Australia. And the most important thing about Australia is that everybody, no matter what their faith, is able to practice their religion in peace. And there is no place in Australia for religious acts of extremism of any kind.
Crossing over to our correspondent Siddhant Mishra, who's joining us on this story. Siddhant, so Prime Minister Modi is in Papua New Guinea for the FIPIC summit. Can you give us more details about the summit?
Well, Anjali, this is perhaps the historic visit of Prime Minister to Papua New Guinea, and this is the third FIPIC summit that India is hosting in Papua New Guinea. Before that, India has conducted 2 successful summits, one in Fiji and the other one in Jaipur. But because of the COVID-19 and the situation post that, the third summit got delayed. But today it's happening in Papua New Guinea, and perhaps, the kind of statement that the Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea has made, calling Prime Minister Narendra Modi as a leader of Global South. And in fact, all these Pacific islands have agreed to rally behind Prime Minister Narendra Modi. At the same time, the same the same, even Prime Minister Modi also spoke on the lines of Global South, that how India is ready to raise concerns, to raise problems of Global South on international multilateral forums like G7 and G20. And perhaps yesterday, in fact, when Prime Minister was in Japan attending G7 summit, with whomever he met in bilateral engagement, or perhaps at the time of speaking to the leaders from the other nations and even the other dignitaries, each time around, Prime Minister did mention about the problems that the countries from Global South are facing. So there is no doubt, in fact, after this visit, there is no doubt that the positioning that India is doing as a leader of Global South is now getting endorsed by other countries also, and especially from the Pacific Islands.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has landed in
G20 delegates have arrived in Srinagar. There's a lot of focus on film, there's focus on ecotourism, there's also focus on trying to encourage foreign tourists to come to Kashmir, and that's because a lot of advisories have been issued, especially by European countries, discouraging their residents to come to Kashmir for security reasons. But amidst all this, geopolitics is also playing out. China, Pakistan's all-weather friend, has refused to come to Kashmir, citing that Kashmir is a disputed territory, something that India opposes. Turkey also has decided not to come here to Srinagar, and now we are hearing that Saudi Arabia has become the third country which is not sending its representatives for this working group. Now, apart from the G20 countries, 60 delegates are expected to attend these meetings, but apart from the delegates from G20, there are a lot of invitee countries as well, and now it seems there is some report to suggest that Egypt's participation is also under cloud.
The government in Jammu and Kashmir has been thrusting on the beautification, and things like these are coming up. We are seeing beautifully painted hashtag Srinagar, and similarly hashtag Kashmir, and certain other landmarks are also coming up. And the face behind it is Rubul Nagi. What was the thought behind this? Because this will stay here for a very, very long time. Many generations will see it, and then it becomes a landmark in itself. So how do you see it, and what was the idea behind all these?
So being an artist and being the daughter of Kashmir, firstly I want to say that I'm super proud and I'm super thankful for this opportunity of creating something, a piece of art of mine in my home state. I'm sure you've already seen hashtag Kashmir, and right now we are standing in front of hashtag Srinagar. Well, as an artist, I always crave for creativity. I always crave for doing something out of the box. So a couple of years back, when I started the thought process of hashtagging cities, states in India, I actually thought that instead of doing I love everywhere, I mean I did I love Mumbai also, but what do we do different when commuters are commuting from the road? What different they see? Standing here in Srinagar, you can see this probably sitting anywhere in the world. So that was the thing.
Are you satisfied that the Congress is in a position, if not to emerge as the single largest party?
Without any support, we will form a government.
The million-dollar question, who is going to be Chief Minister?
Why you are worried about the Chief Minister?
Had you not quit, then the numbers would have been very different.
Definitely. Let's bring it up one by one as to what worked for the Congress.
The BJP has 38% vote share, so they are up by 2% from the last time around. Congress has moved up at least about 6 to 7% in vote share.
Out of the 28 sitting MLAs who were dropped, the BJP won only 13.
The Congress Congress kept this election extremely local. There were local leaders focusing on local issues. Bajrang Bali gambit that we have been saying, this led to the consolidation of the Muslim votes, the triangular contest becoming a bipolar contest.
A vibrant diaspora that is also contributing greatly to the Australian economy. Never before has the red carpet been laid out for a Prime Minister like it has been for PM Narendra Modi. Never before has something like this been done for a nation's leader. And PM Narendra Modi has been able to allow these nations to tide over the disappointment of Joe Biden cancelling his visit to Papua New Guinea. The New Zealand Prime Minister goes there, and I think India has now steered the discourse and perhaps put the spotlight on those nations that were generally passed over. They were those flyover nations which happened, which were never considered as important in the Asia-Oceanic region. But India also now looks at itself as a leader of the global south. That's how exactly India has been wanting to position itself. But more importantly, they get vital support. India gets vital support for backing these nations, voicing the concerns of these nations at the multilateral and multinational platforms. Then it will also get its support at WTO. It will also get the support of these nations at the UN. And that will be significant in taking the cause of the global south and fighting for it. We saw this come to fruition at the previous WTO edition under the Union Minister Piyush Goyal, where across 5 or 6 various points, India was able to enforce and push through certain aspects in the paragraphs in the way it was worded, way it was written, aspects and concerns of nations like India and other developing nations as far as the water is concerned, use of the waters, maritime trade, maritime fishing, all of these aspects are concerned, even with rice, and of course beyond that, in terms of getting a vaccine waiver and a TRIPS waiver. So that aspects with TRIPS waiver in providing medicine to nations which need it, the concerns of smaller nations, this India has been doing quite well. Let me just quickly go and try and speak with the Indian diaspora, walk across and see if what their opinion is, what their point of view is, and let me quickly ask them. Hi, did you all guys get to meet the Prime Minister?
Yes. We are so happy. We are so happy.
You're very happy.
You know, his hand is so soft, and he was so nice to speak to, and you know, it's really great. We love him. We love him.
Yeah, really great.
Jai Modi.
What a Tejas he is. What a Tejas he is. Hardworking man, like coming from Papua New Guinea, tirelessly, with a good look, greeted us with all smile.
Yes.
On behalf of Malayali Association, we welcome the Honorable Prime Minister to our living country here, the man of the powerful India.
Yes, we are so blessed to see him.
Very blessed to see him.
Yes.
I did ask Modi the only one thing.
Did the little girl get to sing?
Yeah, she
sang. Where
she sang in front of Modi. The one thing I asked Modi was, Modi, we want a land for crematorium because this is happening, and we want a crematorium. Every Indian has to be sent back with respect. So that is not available, and he said he'll look into it. Giving a land.
Look into it. So yes. Given as a simple, something which we think is normal in India is something which is absent here, and you asked for it.
Yes, exactly.
It's a crematorium.
One more thing, he made a point to meet each and everyone from the right to end. That is a very great leadership,
I'm a proud Gujarati coming from Modi's land, so a lot of Gujaratis are here as well.
Lovely. No, I think our friends from the Bora community were also there. I think you also shook hands. The Prime Minister met you guys. Was it good to meet him?
It was a very good pleasure meeting him,
and shake his hand. Thank you very much, sir.
You said that this. How was it to meet the Prime
I was very much excited to see him for the second time here in Sydney, and we welcome him, and it is going to be a big day tomorrow with 20,000 people celebrating the...
You got this picture for him?
Yes.
He's autographed it. He's autographed it. Okay. Can I just show it? So this is a picture of the Prime Minister, and he's actually autographed it. The beautiful sights of the Sydney Opera House and, of course, the Sydney business skyline. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a fantastic cruise. And on top of the cruise, we've got some of the leading ladies of Australia, if I may say, of the Indian diaspora. This is a conversation we had to have, and thankfully we are having it at perhaps one of the best settings. So, to the ladies, thank you very, very, very much. So, Sakshi, Preeti, Mansi and Veena. I've got the names right. Yeah, and Shipra, sorry. So there you go. So that's Shipra, Preeti, Mansi and of course Veena. All of them very, very involved with the Australian community here, especially the Indian diaspora, but also achievers by their own right. So let's get to hear their own stories. So I believe you decided not to ply your wares of politics in India, but you decided Australia is a better ground. So let me know, she's a counsellor herself. Yes, Veera, so tell me, how did that happen?
Anand, look, things happen for a reason, but when I say that I am an Indian-born first female to be a Liberal councillor in the Hillshire Council, it means a lot, not just to me, but to so many other women from the Indian diaspora. So as a teacher in a high school, I realized that education is the key to success. And when education means education is available everywhere and it should be imparted everywhere. So why is politics away or isolated from it? And that's where probably I bridge the gap. There has to be a presence. We cannot stay isolated from politics. And that's why this is my message to each and every person who realizes that they don't want to be involved in politics,
exactly.
that they cannot be away from politics.
Who's going to do all of this? Let's just live our life, make our money and be happy.
True, but there is more to life and we will do it. कौन करेगा? हम करेंगे. ये गवर्नमेंट को करना चाहिए? नहीं, गवर्नमेंट हम बनाते हैं और हम ही ये सारे डिसीजंस लेंगे. तो कल की जनरेशन जब मेरे और आपके और हम सब के बच्चे हमसे पूछेंगे, मम्मी डैडी ये क्यों नहीं हुआ? तो हमारे पास ये ना हो कहने को कि हम यहाँ आए, कमाया, घर बनाया, अब तुम करो. हमारे पास ये होना चाहिए, हम यहाँ आए, हमने कंट्रीब्यूट किया और अब आपकी बारी है आगे बढ़ाने के लिए.
So, but how important is political representation? Let me ask you, Mansi, before I get into what you are doing. How important is this aspect of representation within to influence policy, influence community?
I think it's very important. It's just a step up to getting that community success, and we feel proud of everyone who achieves that. Especially as a woman, when we see Reena achieving those milestones, it's not easy. But she gets there, she pushes hard, she's working hard for the community, and that's just the best part of it, just to see that.
And Mansi is somebody who's still keeping the India connection going on. So yes. How? Even with the business that she is into, you're into the business of accessories
and food.
And food.
So
fashion,
I'm from a place called Rishikesh. That is obviously the Ayurvedic capital. But I had my sister, and I thought I want to bring to somewhere where I'm born and to somewhere where I belong now, the connection together, and that's how Earthy Souls was born. It is getting all the best foods from India here
into Australia.
Into Australia.
But along with that, you're also bringing you're employing women.
Yes. So
you've got a factory back in India.
Yes.
And
yes.
you're sourcing.
So giving it back to my country. So it makes me feel proud. I mean, I'm doing work here as well, and I plan to grow and employ women have the same agenda here, mirror it down. But over there, I'm working with women and getting them out there to feel financially independent.
So, Preeti, tell me what you do. You're helping people move into Australia, aren't you?
Yeah, I work with the most valuable resource on earth, and that's people. So Australia is a vast
Those who want to come to Australia, note kare, yahi hai wo.
So I run a business called Better Life Migration, and through my business we have helped thousands of migrants come out to Australia, be it employers looking for workers, they can't find people out here, then we help them bridge that gap by getting people from India in particular, because India has a fabulous resource sector, and especially IT and things like that. We get a lot of migrants from India, students who want to study
So
here.
what's in demand now? STEM, no?
STEM is absolutely, if you want to come to Australia, I suggest that you get into the STEM sector. That's science, technology, engineering and maths. Things like agribusiness, cybersecurity. The Australian government is looking at people who can enhance the skills out here, create employment and take Australia into the future. So they are welcoming people with those skill sets out
But
here.
tell me something, engineer ban ke kheti karni hai, so why can't I do it in India? Why should I do it in Australia?
Well, because India is such a beautiful land, but there is a limit to the land out there. So we have got a lot of resources out here.
Yeah,
So
a lot
that's
of
why-
land, less people.
Exactly, and we need to build our population, and migration is the best way to do that.
What a beautiful skyline. So I hope Arpit behind the camera is also showing us this fantastic skyline as it comes into the yeah, and see the Sydney Harbour Bridge looks beautiful. Isn't this captivating? Wow. Do you want to live anywhere? No, do you want to live anywhere else in the? I was just wondering. After you watch this, do you really want to live anywhere else in the world? That's what I'm asking.
Not actually. It's one of the best places, and I have lived in quite a few countries, and Australia is by far the choice to live. Yes.
But what's so special about this place? I know the view is great, but there are many other harbours, many other skylines which could look equally good. So let me ask you, what's so special about this place? So she is in the business of retail. So she's setting up stores all over the place, and she's also trying to do something. Getting into a business is tough to get in. No? She's wanting to get in there. So tell us,
to answer your first question, the biggest aspect of Australia is weather. We have the most beautiful weather on the planet. At least that's what I think. We have, it's not too hot, not too cold. We are out and about every kind of 12 months and enjoying these scenes. So that's why Australia is really enticing.
Okay, I thought you would have said, "Arey, this is the kind of desi crowd that you would like to meet anytime and anywhere." So that's why you should be here.
We do have a very fabulous Indian community as well. We stick together, support each other. There are, if something goes wrong with one family, everybody is there. So even after becoming such a big volume, we are still sticking together. So we do have beautiful Indian community.
PM Modi is going to arrive. So are you going to meet him? What has he done? Has he done anything significant in changing the impression of Indians, India?
Oh, yes.
He has. What has he done?
I mean, he's changed. Now people look at us not just as Indians, they look at us like, oh my God, you're from India. Wow, you know Narendra Modi. So it's like a big deal. Narendra Modi ji has created an impact which has been like no other prime minister in the world.
But is it more, or is it something really concrete on ground, or is it just
He's
pure?
worked hard. He's worked hard at the ground level to make that. He's worked with every country. He's worked with Australia. Now we have free trade, which is awesome. I mean, it changes the whole.
How did it change for you? Because you're sourcing, right? You're sourcing from Rishikesh. So has it changed for you?
Sourcing from all over India.
All over India, correct.
It's still in place. Things will change because it's just come in the free trade concept. But things are going to get better. And with Narendra Modi ji in power, we see, and the new government, we'll see what the collaboration is, and we look forward to the success.
Yeah, because this entire ECTA was first thought during Kevin Rudd's time, if I remember.
Yes.
And it was talked about during ScoMo's time. It started picking up, Scott Morrison's time, and then eventually got inked when the government changed in November. So what has changed, Reena? Let me ask you.
I suppose the most important part is that Modi ji has done one thing, not just put